My dad always warned me about Gotham City. Growing up on a farm, you learn human beings are small and weak. We only survive by coming together. When people come together in Gotham, the strong just eat the weak. Today, on the Comic Book Report, the New 52's Batman Superman Cross World. Stick around and check it out. Greetings from Gotham, everyone. My name is Dominic, and you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today we're taking a look at one of the New 52's more interesting titles, Batman Superman. I've always been a fan of these two DC Comics greats, so catching them sharing a cover always piques my interest. And this book is no exception, so settle in and let's get started with today's review. First, some quick facts about today's collection. The issues in this volume were written by Greg Pak and penciled by Jae Lee. The issues collected were first published by DC Comics beginning in 2013. The volume itself collects Batman Superman issues 1 through 4 and Justice League issue 23.1 Darkseid. And finally, this standard size hardcover is 144 pages. At this time, I'd like to issue a brief spoiler warning. I will be flipping through today's collection as well as commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Okay, and here's our first look at that Batman Superman collection, and I'm happy to say the format is consistent with the rest of these New 52 hardcover collections. This volume is a standard size hardcover with a nice glossy dust jacket. Within the volume, you can also expect a glossy print paper stock. And wrapping around this cover, you have some beautiful art from Jae Lee, which is indicative of what you can find in the collection itself. I want to be completely upfront, it was the characters that drew me to this book, but it was really the art from Jae Lee that made this a no-brainer purchase for me all those years ago. Jae Lee is a brilliant artist, but I understand that his style might be a bit polarizing to some. It is highly stylized, and it has an over-quality of surrealism to it. I was first exposed to Jae Lee when I read some of Stephen King's Dark Tower graphic novels. Beautiful artwork by Jae Lee throughout many of those volumes, and the style here is very consistent and similar to that art style, and I have to say it's a blast to see it adapting Batman and Superman. And as you can see, I'm just giving you a quick look under the dust jacket, very basic hardcover, like the rest of the New 52 hardcovers for the most part. Overall, no complaints there, and we can go ahead and get started with the actual book contents now. So as I mentioned earlier, this book only actually includes 4 issues of the main Batman Superman series from the New 52, along with that Justice League Darkseid issue and a bunch of extras at the back. Why I find that so wild is that this book feels longer than 4 issues, at least even the parts I'm talking about with Jae Lee and Greg Pak. Those two storytellers really cover a lot of mileage in just a few issues. And while the setup for this whole book might be a bit formulaic, I was pleasantly surprised overall by this early offering of the Batman Superman New 52 title. At its core, this book is really a when Batman met Superman story. And predictably, there's some tension throughout because of that. You have these two men that are both superheroes that have very different philosophies, ideologies, and perspectives on the world and the world they were raised in. You have Superman, who's a black and white moralist, this kind of paragon of integrity that always is just kind of the eternal hopeful optimist. And then you have Batman, who's a little bit more real and seeing a lot of shades of gray as he fights in a really hard world. That dynamic has always been really rich for Batman Superman storytelling as those kind of cultures clash when these two get together, especially in early stories. But what I think is interesting here is that the New 52 Superman, at least initially, is a little bit of a punk. He's a little more surly and kind of entitled and young. And while Batman is a little bit, it's not as noticeable as it is with Superman, who's sort of the Boy Scout still, but the Boy Scout with a poor attitude. I think for that reason, the New 52 Superman has never really been my favorite Superman, even if the New 52 Batman I think is really, really likable. At any rate, these opposites are really well represented in Jae Lee's artwork. We have some spectacular contrasts, and the way he frames different things in this book are just pretty outstanding. You see the differences all the way down to the cityscapes between Gotham and Metropolis, or even Smallville. As I said, the art overall has a kind of surrealistic or dreamy quality, which to hear in early when these two superhero titans met each other, I liked the kind of fairy tale dreamlike quality to the artwork. It lent a kind of mysticism almost to the work, and I think that that works with the subject matter. But this might not be for everyone. Like I said, a lot of people have very defined views of what a Batman and Superman story is and what the art style should be like, and this might not be their cup of tea, and I completely respect that. But if you're into Jae Lee's artwork or you're interested in trying something stylistic and different, this really packed a punch for me, and I think that overall and overwhelmingly, it's the art that sells me on this book more than the storyline. The storyline, like I said, is fine for me, but it was nothing truly groundbreaking, but I can't say the same for the art. The art really elevated this collection, and there's some things here that, like, I would get prints of these on my walls and hang them up, because the art is just that gorgeous. As far as that storytelling goes, again, this is a When Batman Met Superman story. But what's interesting about it is these two really don't agree, but they get pulled into this kind of battle with this kind of, I guess, trickster spirit that inhabits Catwoman. Anyway, they get into a really big fight trying to figure out what's going on and stop the Bat and, kind of stop each other even, when all of a sudden they're transported to a parallel world or universe, and Superman mistakes the Batman there for his Batman, only to find out it's from this other universe, and vice versa. And you kind of get this feeling that in that universe, it's a lot closer to the main DC universe, and that Batman and Superman have this long legacy of being friends and colleagues and can depend on one another, etc. And then you have these kind of two young guns from the main New 52 universe who are kind of at each other's throats and hate each other and can't say a nice thing about the other. And you have these other universe versions just kind of insisting that the friendship is important and they are able to accomplish so much more, and they kind of help the other ones see like more sides of the world and of themselves, etc., etc. It's kind of this like faded friendship sort of theme throughout all of it. But they all weave in this kind of weird inhabiting trickster spirit that might be a minion of Darkseid, and it kind of, goes in a lot of predictable action sequences. I think some notable inclusions in this book that I liked seeing as well were, like I said, Catwoman, and also the inclusion of Wonder Woman. It was a really playful scene when she first hits, the comic issue here. We have the New 52 Superman just being like, whoa, who are you? And we know that in the New 52, Superman and Wonder Woman get together romantically. So I thought that that was kind of a fun nod, this idea that the first time he ever hears of or encounters a Wonder Woman, it's, in this parallel universe, and he's already wowed or whatever. Overall, from the story's perspective, there's a lot of fun to be had. It's not bad. It's a great, first meeting story, but it's by no means a classic. And I think that that's what really is a bummer about this collection, is I think with just a little bit of tweaking, this could have been a really classic Batman-Superman story. And instead, I find it to be just a Batman and Superman story that's above average, but with some fantastic art. So you can certainly do worse, but it didn't necessarily leave me eager to finish out more storylines here. All these years later, even after how much I've reread this first volume, I've never sought out volume 2 or so on from this New 52 series. In fact, if you finished out this run, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. How does this series develop? Is it worth following up on the run? I think overall, this volume is still one I'm so happy to have in my collection. It's a really great kind of early origin-esque issue for this friendship, but ultimately I never really found that I needed to read further. We end this collection with the Darkseid issue from Justice League, the 23.1, and it's definitely not bad. This was another fun issue, but because the art style was so different, it kind of pulls you out of the collection. You really feel like this is almost a weird kind of epilogue or bonus feature rather than a part of the main collection, if that makes sense. But if I view it like that, and it's almost like an extra issue, it was definitely some fun to be had. But like I said, it pulls me out of the whole narrative. It pulls me out of the storytelling because the art is just that much different than what we see from Jae Lee. I think if you're a fan of these characters, this could be a really fun story for you, or if you enjoyed the Dark Tower graphic novel series and you like Jae Lee's art, or maybe you've seen him from other works, this is definitely a great staple to have in your Jae Lee collection. It's fun to see him adapt some of the main DC heroes and stuff, but it might be passable for many people out there. The extras are always a lot of fun, and we even get some script pages and sketches at the back of this book. Overall, it rounds out this collection nicely, and even though there's only about 5 issues total in this collection, it feels a bit bigger because this collection covers a lot of ground, and each page is just a treat for the eyes. And now that we've reached the end of this volume, I think all that's left is to give Batman Superman a grade. For a fun retelling of a Batman-Superman meeting story with some unbelievably beautiful, if not polarizing artwork, the Comic Book Report gives Batman-Superman Crossworld a B. This might not win awards, and it might not be a standout Batman or Superman story in the scope of their entire catalog, but it's a serviceable story with some fun moments, with some outstanding art from Jae Lee. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Batman Superman New 52, or the New 52 in general. I always love hearing from you. And until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Don't forget to give this video a like and check out some of my other videos. Have a good one.